Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Justin and I don't have much of a voice today, apparently. We are coming at you after the Bluecoats game. Isaiah Joe makes his debut in the G League, gets a bunch of run, gets a bunch of shots up. A couple of them even fall. Bluecoats win. They go to 10-4. They are playoff bound. They will play again tomorrow, and then playoffs start on Monday. Justin and I were watching the game, so we figured, let's go live. Let's talk about the Bluecoats. Let's talk about Paul Reed. Let's talk about Isaiah Joe. Let's bring you some post-game. And we've got the trifecta. We got the trio, the power trio, Austin Krell. These two guys with their beautiful hair. So hit us with questions. Appreciate everyone joining. We're going to have Connor Johnson join us, and we'll ask him some questions. Hopefully we'll get Isaiah Joe tonight. We'll get hopefully Paul Reed after the game. So you'll see the Zoom call as we see it, same as the Sixers game. And then we're going to just talk a little bit about, All-Star break, NBA, All-Star, Sixers. Wow. Watching from France, I can only imagine what time it is in France. Let me do the math. It's like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., something like that. I'm going to guess 3 a.m. That's wild. Thank you for staying up with us. So the Bluecoats had a good win tonight. Paul Reed had another 2010 game, I believe. And Isaiah Joe played really good defense, I thought. You guys watched the game? Justin?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm echoing.
No, you're good with me. All right, give me your thoughts on the game. Give me your thoughts on Paul Reed, Isaiah Joe.
Paul Reed, I am still – you can't hear the echo? No? Okay, cool. Okay. Paul Reed, I've been really high on, honestly, and I think most people see coming in, I think a lot of people saw him being that power forward, but honestly, I've seen him more as a center, and he's been playing center for the Bluecoats, so it's definitely exciting to see that. His three-point shot's been more consistent than you would have think it would have been, because the shot does look a little janky in comparison to what you would think of as a smooth shot would be. He's very, very good around the rim, good footwork, getting inside, has a knack for getting tough rebounds, just overall just really good. Isaiah Joe today, like you said, played pretty good defense offensively. He wasn't hitting as much tonight as you would have liked, but that's going to happen. It's his first day with this team, or first game with this team, so he'll find his shots and he'll find the open looks and the good shots as he plays more games with them.
What are your thoughts, Austin? Did you watch?
Yeah, I watched as much as I could. I think for me with like Paul Reed, I'm really impressed by his control. I think he has better control than I thought he had with the ball in his hand. I think he has a pretty quick first step. There was a play against, I think it was like Tevon Scott. I'm sure I have the name wrong, but at least the first name. I know his last name was Scott. I think they had two Scotts on the team, actually. Anyway, but he had like a really nice post move over the shoulder where he just burst he burst right and dunked it. I think he has good hands around the rim too. I think you see the jump shot, it's a little bit funky, and you think he just lacks coordination or he lacks the hands, but he actually has pretty good hands for a post player. He has pretty good hands for this stage in his career. I think he has the potential to be a really nice rotation player for whether it be the Sixers or a team in the NBA at some point.
Yeah, it's surprising. I'm gonna throw out a comp. He made a spin move today that was absolutely Markel Fultz esque. It was sort of a one of those jab step into a spin move with a finish at the rim. Um, I saw you posted a highlight of one of his first step moves, but he actually had a beautiful spin move.
Are you
Um,
talking about me?
oh yeah, always.
Was
Always.
I don't know if it was me or Austin. I think I did post something
No,
about a.
Austin posted I think it was a drive to the right.
Yeah, I don't see like the dardiness or like the sharpness in which with which he cuts with the ball in his hand. Like Markel, he had a little bit of like this herky jerkiness to him, but he generally would have like these straight line drives where he would just
No,
dart.
I just mean that super predictable spin move, that drive into a spin move that Markel does 15 times a game in the lane.
Yeah, I didn't see that. When I think of him, I kind of see like this, like the ceiling is like Julius Randle type, where he can kind of like boulder, like bowl his way to the rim.
It's an
Um,
interesting comp. Yeah, I like that one.
yeah, he can like bowl his way to the rim, um, and like he just kind of has this like this playmaking around the rim type thing that Julius has. Um, but obviously, there's a long way to go until he's Julius Randle. If he can get that jumper where he can like curl into like curl in around the elbow and just shoot, he'd be well on his way to being that level. But of course, he has to develop as a playmaker as well.
Yeah, so I don't have the final box score, but I believe he crossed into 2010 territory, hit his averages. So really good night, Justin Craddock. Thank you for the question. Thank you for watching. Yeah, so Paul Reed, we just talked about Paul Reed, did really well, and I think we're going to have Coach Connor Johnson coming up.
the limit. And I think we have to be pretty cautious of what it was like for them, what their journey to get here with the 15 games in such a short amount of time. So a couple guys we held out today might hold out a couple tomorrow, just to be smart and cautious and keep us at 100% from an injury perspective, but also keep our energy as high as possible for our game coming up. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Jason, big time echo when you have that happen. So I don't really know what I'm supposed to do if I'm asking the question.
Yeah, it's
Or echo on my end, I should say.
Yeah, because you're coming through on two different screens for you.
Yeah, how do I fix that?
Headset. Yeah, we don't normally have this issue, I guess.
No. I don't really have
You know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'll remove you from the stream.
Will that make the audio not be there?
Oh, you still will hear it through, yeah. Just drop out of the studio.
Okay, I'll drop out when the next guy comes up. But yeah, guys, that was Connor Johnson, the head coach of the Delaware Bluecoats. Yeah, do you have anything to say about what he was talking about there, Jay?
Well, I just want to apologize to everyone. That was actually my fault on the audio. I figured it out, fixed it just as he got up and left. I think Connor said some nice things about Paul Reed and his versatility on both ends. Spoke highly. It was a good question from you, Justin, about Justin Robinson. I think he gave a good answer there. Isaiah Joe, he was very happy with Isaiah Joe's activity, getting the loose balls, diving on the ground. Obviously, Isaiah Joe did not shoot well tonight whatsoever, but I mean, personally, I still think he played pretty well. I think he got good shots. They just didn't fall. And I don't know how much of that Connor said it might have been sitting in a hotel room for 4 days. I think there's also an aspect of the lighting in that room is very different. It's a much smaller room with a dark background. You're sort of in a box. And I just think there's a visual component to your backdrop that is an adjustment. So, you know, I'm not at all worried about how Isaiah Joe played tonight. I think the fact that they were able to have a comfortable win, despite not having their starting point guard, and despite having a shooting guard go 2 for 14, is pretty impressive, honestly, when you think about it.
Yeah, and their big thing, honestly, and as much as they're you sit there and you look at poor shooting from the outside today, realistically, like, their game has been more getting into the inside before going outside anyway. They just, because teams are guarding the inside so much on a guy like Paul Reed, they're leaving shots open on the outside. And we've been every other game. We've had good games and bad games from shooting from three. So this was a bad one, but they were able to overcome that because Rajon Tucker was playing pretty efficient today, which hasn't been the norm for him.
Austin just feels so comfortable he's going to chew ice on the mic. That's how comfortable he is.
My fault.
You know, guys feeling it when he will chew ice on the mic.
Listen, sometimes you gotta like, you know, you have a lot going on. You got autograph. It's you just gotta come in and do your best. No, I'm kidding.
Did you say autograph signings,
This is your best. We saying this is your best.
The
the best we can expect
no
from
haircut, no haircut in the bed.
Like in actuality, though, I think with Isaiah, shouldn't concern anybody. I mean, shooters. Jason, you told me this, but you kind of made this point to me previously. But shooters are inherently streaky, and I think if you put a young guy there, hasn't really played much at the NBA level, sat in his room and kind of let did as much. I would think as much maintenance on his body as he could, being locked in a room. But you come in there, you have a new backdrop, you have game speed, you have defenses coming at you. Yeah, I wouldn't overthink a 2 for 14 game for a guy like that. I was really impressed with. There was one play he made where he blocked the shot and then got the rebound on his own block, burst down the court and finished through contact. So I thought that was a really promising look for him. he wasn't, you know,
I remember prior to the block, he had hit a 3. So he
yeah.
hit a 3.
It was like
down
5.
on a
It was like
block.
5 quick points, and then that was it.
Oh, by the way, real quick, do you guys love that? How they say my last name?
Yeah.
Everyone says it.
Paul Reed.
Paul Reed coming.
Yeah, Paul Reed coming.
All right, I'm leaving the studio.
Jason, should I leave too?
Yeah, probably if you don't want echo.
Hey, Alex, we're ready. First to Jason Blevins. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Paul. Another good game tonight. Been consistently good. Do you feel like this pro game, this sort of wide open, well-spaced game, just plays into your strengths? Or have you made a leap from your college season to this season? I mean, what do you credit this this sort of leap to?
I credit it hard work. Just me just working on myself in every area, mentally, physically, and you know, coaching too. He put me in the right position to make plays for my teammates, make plays for myself, and I think it got a lot to do with that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Justin P. Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, Paul, congrats on the win and on your 11th double-double of the season. You lead the G League in double-doubles so far, and being that's your first season, I just want to hear, like, how does it feel to be leading the G League and statistically like that, being that it is your first season?
I'm supposed to be doing this. If I wasn't being a leader in the G League right now, like, it'd be a problem. So I'm just grateful for sure, but it's like, you know, I got plans on leading the NBA this same way, so I'm supposed to be doing this.
I like that answer. Thank you.
Austin Crowell. Go ahead, Austin.
Hey, Paul. Your ninth 20-point game of the G League season in 14 games tonight. What do you think is the most underrated or under-talked about part of your game?
Most underrated part of my game? I think my ability to playmate for my teammates. I think that's a good question, actually. Most underrated part of my game. What you think it is? What you think?
I walked away very impressed so far with your touch around the rim. I think your head coach here at that as well.
Yeah, I don't think that people expected me to score the ball as well as I have been scoring. So I can say that's underrated for sure. But yeah, and my defense, being able to guard, little guys, big guys, just everybody, I think that's super underrated. So.
All right, two more. Go to Nasir Nichols first. Go ahead, Nasir.
Hey, Paul, great win. Congrats on making the playoffs. Even though you shot well offensively, the team as a collective kind of struggled, shooting 40% and being held under 100 points for the first time like this all season. What are some things you think you guys can improve on offensively so your struggles don't continue on in the future?
I think we can improve on ball movement. Sometimes it was a lot of times we came down, we wouldn't even pass the ball 2 times before we took a shot. And I think that's a problem, especially when we're trying to be a championship team. So I think that's one thing we need to work on. I feel like tonight was one of them nights where we already made the playoffs, so a lot of guys are we don't really need to do too much. But I don't want that to be our mindset. I want us to go out there and play the same way every game and get better every game instead of taking days off. But everybody got a different mindset. I can only control what I can control. I gotta really just focus on the team, but also focus on myself.
Last one, we'll go to Matt Green. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Paul, congrats on the team's 10th win this season. When you found out Isaiah Joe would be joining the team, did you reach out to him and did you give him any advice heading into the G League's bubble?
He reached out to me. We was talking a little bit. He was just asking me about the guys and stuff. I'm like, they cool. It's cool. And then once he got here, we was talking a little bit. We just linked up yesterday. Yesterday was the first day we actually met in person since he been here. So it's been cool though.
All right, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. That was a very confident Paul Reed. We'll get the other 2 guys in here. His answers.
All right, folks. Due to this transportation bar around they do get quickly after the game. We did run out of time tonight. We will get to more players tomorrow, though. We are back-to-back. Tomorrow, Saturday, 3 o'clock afternoon game tomorrow afternoon. Again, we'll get to some more players tomorrow, and apologies for the tight turnarounds after some of these later games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get Justin and Austin back in here. Confident. Paul Reed.
Yeah, I love him. I love his attitude. I love his attitude.
It's exactly the right attitude too. So why don't you go ahead and give your question. Let's just recap that question and his answer. Because I've got a take on it. I know where that is.
Paul Reed's or Austin's?
Your question.
Sorry, mine or Austin.
Yeah, your question to Paul. We'll get to Austin's, which was also good.
Yeah, no, I asked. Basically, Paul Reed right now is leading the G League in double-doubles with 11 on the season, and it's his first season, obviously, he's a rookie. And so I just asked him, I said, so how does it feel to be leading the G League right now, statistically in a lot of different categories? And he basically just said, he's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be having issues. Like if like this is what I want to do. I want to lead the league in the same things in the NBA, and that's the kind of stuff that, like, personally, like, that I even said. I don't know. Could they hear what I said after that? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Like I even said after that, I was like, I like that answer. Like, for real. Like that's a good attitude to have, especially for a guy who's like in the G League right now trying to work his way up. So
Yeah, so Connor and I were talking at one of the open tryouts a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And, they've got 150 people in there. They pay, $100 to get looked at by scouts and get some coaching. And I said, have you seen anybody? And he said, no. Yeah, and there were guys dunking in these games, right? The guy on my team was dunked. They had like 3 dunks in the game. He said, no,
wow.
if they don't jump out at this level, they can't play at the next level. So
Yeah.
I know that is a thing that Connor preaches to these guys, and he's clearly said to Paul, like, you have to dominate at this level before you can play at the next level. So I just thought that was a fantastic answer. Austin, you and Paul had a nice exchange there as well. Paul was doing I couldn't tell if he was doing a Kevin Durant or a Russell Westbrook post-game sort of cover up with the hood and the whole look, but I did get a screenshot of it. But
You put me on the spot. I was like,
yeah, but we had talked before. We knew what you were going to ask, so you were ready. I knew you were ready. I was very happy when he put you on the spot.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that he hadn't like pondered that more on his own. I guess I will say this: Paul Reed is nothing if not confident in himself. So I love that about any player, because that's what you need to make it in this game and in this league. And I thought that just sort of spoke to his confidence. Like, I think in his head he thinks that his game is, that he thinks he's awesome at his, and he's not like, he's not overly insecure about any one component of his game. And I think that's it's a good thing. I also think that it can also, and going the other way, can mean that he's lacking awareness in some senses, but I think you can interpret that in a good way or a bad way.
Yeah, no, I think it was good. I think you have to have that sort of that confidence that you have to have that on the floor. And I think the lacking awareness point. One thing is, these guys don't get a lot of media coverage, right?
Yeah.
So they don't get to read the next day anything beyond a box score, any sort of analysis on what they do well, what they didn't do well. So they don't get the same feedback that players in the NBA will get, who, no matter how much they tell you they don't pay attention, of course they read everything. Of course they did. Austin, when you made the paper,
that out so fast.
What?
That question.
What question?
The one, Paul Reed's answer on the double-double. How'd you get that out already?
Persicletti, I move fast. You got, as a rookie, you got.
I don't know how to do that.
Otter.
I have Otter, but it doesn't translate it perfectly. So I have to like go back in, listen to it, and type it out.
The key is this: I have it on my phone.
Yeah, it's on my laptop.
So I can type
No
out.
trade secrets on a live stream.
Yeah.
No trade secrets on a live stream.
No trade secrets on a live stream.
We share a little bit of what we do. We share part of the process. All right, let's get to some comments. I saw this one, Justin. I think I'm getting a Zaire Smith feeling from Joe. I think honestly,
that's disrespectful.
Well, look, Zaire has an NBA body, more so than Isaiah Joe. If you could put every other part of Isaiah Joe into Zaire Smith's body, it's an NBA All-Star.
I gotta interrupt. Paul Reed 3 seconds ago on Twitter posts a picture of PS5s as a selling last 2 with overnight.
He's been doing that for the past like week.
He bought
a bunch. He thinks quickly. He is moving fast.
He bought a bunch of them. He had like stacks and stacks of them. He's selling them to
let's stay on.
It's smart. It's smart.
Can we get to our comments here?
No,
we're gonna be here all night. This is not a 3-hour Sixers stream. Zaire Smith Austin, you've seen Zaire in person. You haven't seen Isaiah Joe in person, but you've seen some Isaiah Joe. To me, very different. I think Zaire was a bit of a deer in the headlights, but had that like physical profile that was so tantalizing that if he could just ever figure it out, could really be a good player. Isaiah Joe is like the opposite. He's like, not that I watched the Marvel movies, but he's almost like the pre-Captain America, whatever the process they went through. Like, he just needs to go through that Captain America machine, and he becomes a really, really good player. He's very, very slight.
Yeah, I think in my experience covering him in Delaware, there was this element of like no one had really seen him. Obviously, people probably had a lot of hope that he would pan out, considering the team traded Mikal Bridges for him, who has panned out quite well. So you're grasping for straws, and you're trying to make everything look good. He was very much so a deer in headlights. He was reworking his shooting mechanics actively as we were shooting videos of him and posting them on Twitter.
Yeah, and I think most fans only saw like our videos, or highlights.
Yeah,
and obviously he's gonna look good with a back cut baseline dunk when you're only seeing a couple of highlights, but when you watch him throughout the game, just didn't quite translate.
I mean, I think like even in the G League, you needed to see like you would have hoped that Zaire comes in, and he just it just comes naturally to him, because like think about it, a lot of the college prospects that are trying to make their are hanging on to their dreams for dear life, they're in that system in the G League. That they're if they're not like young and young and raw, they're in their mid to late 20s and they're grasping onto hope. So you would have liked to see him, pick it up and dominate from the get-go. He just wasn't that guy. I think Isaiah Joe tonight, just by that one singular play, showed me more confidence than I think I ever saw out of like Zaire Smith. Like he just had incredible instincts on that one play tonight. I get it; it's one singular play, but we're comparing him against Zaire Smith, who according to his agent, who I now talk to, is
big shot.
Yeah, is hanging around. So
he's got to get back on the floor playing competitive basketball. He just does. But I love this as much as I didn't agree with the Zaire Smith comp. I love this comp, Landry Shamet.
I don't see it.
I totally see this.
I feel like Landry's so much more like of a run around pick kind of guy. Like he's like so much more like mobile. Where Isaiah, I feel like is going to end up being more of a catch and shoot guy. Like he's more lanky. Doesn't move as well as Landry.
I think he moves better than Landry defensively, without a question.
Defensively, yeah.
What I don't know is that he's ever been taught to run off of those off-ball screens yet. But I actually think his feet are a lot faster than Landry Shamet's. But if he comes in and becomes a Landry Shamet level player, I think that is all you could ever ask for out of a 56 pick. But I think that would be like a really great outcome to get a Landry Shamet level player. I know Shamet's had a down year. I know he hasn't been great for maybe over a year, but that would be a fantastic outcome from my standpoint. I just think he's a better defender than Shamet is already, even though he's very undersized. But I think Shamet's probably a little bit taller, just a little bit taller, and maybe a little bit heavier. But I don't know. I'm very impressed with Joe's defensive instincts off ball. I don't think you see a lot of it because he's not getting like called out and hunted on defense, but off ball he moves really well, and I think quick.
Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about here. I don't think Landry Shamet's a good player. I mean, He averages. I mean, he's shooting 36% from three, 38 from the field this season. Really, just dived off since his rookie season in the league. I think. I personally don't think it's going to be hard for Isaiah to be as good as Landry Shamet.
I mean, personally, I liked Landry a lot when he was here.
He hasn't been nearly that good since then.
No, and I understand that. Like you're saying, I don't even really see a lot of Isaiah Joe in him. Even watching Isaiah's tape in college, like yes, I see he's a shooter, but most of his shots are like deep and like realistically, Landry played point guard in college, and like I don't know, it just. There's a difference in how they're coming up. Like Isaiah's a more forward guard, like off ball guy, and Landry was more on ball coming out. So I think it depends, like kind of like you said, what he learns, if he's able to learn how to run off those picks and be efficient off of those, because that's how he's going to get his minutes in the NBA for us, or for the Sixers. I should say.
Here's a great Zach. You're absolutely right. Like I was just around those two, and Shamet basically soaked up everything JJ Redick did, followed him like a shadow in practice at Camden, literally would follow him around and just did what JJ did, learned his routine. Joe, who's the guy on here, Seth Curry. I think Joe actually has better ball handling than I expected coming into the year. And let me here's a hot take. I think his vision is as good as Tyrese Maxey's is right now. Does he project as good as a point guard? I don't know. But his handle is not as good as Maxey's. But his vision, I think, is every bit as good as Tyrese Maxey right now.
Jason, have you been using that in-person credential? Or
yeah. Yeah,
I think Tyrese is as better vision. I do.
Do you want me to go look up the assist percentages and see?
I could be wrong, but
how different it is. I think Tyrese has the green light, and he uses that green light. I don't.
I think
that's his strength.
I agree. It probably isn't his strength necessarily, but I think he has fine vision. I think he's just trying to untap it, and he's trying to slow the game down a little bit for himself.
Listen, boys, real quick, I gotta go take a test and finish it before 12. Right. And I also need to go upload this stuff on Twitter before Austin beats me to it. So I will.
All right, Justin.
Say?
What?
What did you say, Austin?
Ricky, go do your homework.
Get that great hair out of here.
Listen. I don't be mean. Don't be mean to me just because I'm beautiful. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Get out of here, Ricky.
I'm gonna mess with you. All right, everybody. Have a good night. The Bluecoats play again tomorrow at 3, so expect me to be on Twitter for that. And I don't think I'm going to live stream the post game like we're doing today, but I will definitely be posting stuff about it. So tomorrow, make sure you're looking out for that around probably around like 4:30, 5 o'clock. All right.
Awesome.
Peace, everybody.
Good.
Have a good one.
Let's talk Sixers heading into the. In fact, let's change the background. We're going to pivot to the Sixers. We're going into the All-Star break. They are number 1 seed right now in the East. What are your overall thoughts? We haven't talked in a while.
I'll put it this way. I think right now they're probably the best team in the East. I also think they're the team most likely to lose in the first round and get upset.
And what is their Achilles heel that makes you feel that way?
I just don't feel like they have – number one, I don't think they have enough shooting. That's number one. I think their shooters are way too timid. Danny Green's their like by volume is their best 3-point shooter, and that's not a good thing. Seth is struggling right now a little bit. He's very calculated as a shooter. He isn't just like a guy that just lets it fly. He's very calculated. and you combine that, and he's still like timid a little bit right now. Tobias is just not attempting as many as you would hope he would. I think he's down to like I would say around 4.1 per game. It's not. Don't quote me on that, but that's about where he was last time I checked. And I just don't see them having this half court type of player that can buzz and speed in around pick and rolls, and create shots, if not for himself, then for somebody else. And don't get me wrong, I think Ben's been tremendous this season. I think this is the first time you really see him and Joel actually like gel at a high level. And I think you're starting to see games where it's like Ben. It's like they're both getting, Joel's getting his 30, Ben's getting his 18, 20. It isn't like Joel's getting 30 and Ben's getting 12. So they're starting to strike more of a balance, and you can even see their two-man game developing even better. The East is just loaded, and I think it's people say the East is weak, but like the Heat are the 6 or 7 seed right now. The Raptors are a 6 or 7 seed right now. And I would the Knicks are there. I'm not worried about the Knicks at all, but I mean, the Raptors pose a matchup problem. Raptors are not an easy team to beat in the first round.
Oh, I watched it twice in a row last week.
Yeah.
Firsthand. So, however, this team is going to have 2 new players by the time the playoffs start. So, who are those players? They obviously need another ball handling shooter, right? Backcourt player. And they need a stretch 4.
Yeah.
Who are those 2 guys?
I mean, I don't want to I am on the optimistic side with this team. I think they're a really good team. I just think that they do have some vulnerabilities that you do want to tighten up. The good news is I think there are enough players around the NBA that fit what they need that you can tighten it up. They need a stretch 4. I'm guessing they're probably looking at Bielitsa out of Sacramento, and obviously PJ Tucker, as was reported today. And I'm guessing probably the cost for a Bielitsa is like a second round pick or 2, something to make the salaries work.
Let me look up his salary.
I think it's like 8.5.
So does that fit into the trade exception?
Oh yeah, it does. You're right. Yeah, I think it would.
Let me do that real quick. You go ahead and talk. So let me make sure that is a thing that works, because that seems super easy since they have a trade exception, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing him more than they had all season, so they're clearly trying to shop him to teams that want to be interested. Justin Craddock says we're missing Bellinelli.
Oh yeah, you're right. That 100% works. Let me just confirm it. Yeah, that works within the trade exception. So that seems like an absolute no-brainer, right?
Wait, what if someone offers 2 second-round picks?
You don't let second-round picks stop you from taking your shot at the whole thing, and he's an obvious fit.
Okay, fair enough.
To me, he's an obvious fit. Now, PJ Tucker, what's he making? Talk me into PJ Tucker, because I feel like I'm the one person who doesn't understand the appeal.
I think I tweeted this today. I think people are just so like, they see the Nets and they see other teams that are deeper, and they're so desperately yearning for Daryl to make a move because he comes in with this cachet as like this unbelievably like deal-driven GM, and he's got the biggest cojones in the room, I guess is a way to put it. And they're so desperate for him to do something that anything seems good. But he's 30. He's like shooting low 30s from 3. There's a lot of
Bielitsa, by the way. We're not going to hold that against him.
What?
Bielitsa is as well.
Yeah, but they're different type of players. Like PJ Tucker is he's a guy that's confined to the corners, like he's a corner specialist. Bielitsa can shoot it from a bunch of different areas in the court.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to look up right now. I'm going to look up Nemanja. Not easy to spell, but
Nemanja.
Okay, Nemanja.
And it's Bjelica.
Let me get his shot chart.
But
yeah, so Bielitsa shoots from every spot you want a guy to shoot from.
Right.
That's just the thing. And now let me do PJ Tucker. I'm on cleaning the glass right now, so let me look at his.
Cleaning the glass is just tremendous.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, Ben Falk, good stuff.
So PJ Tucker is much more of a corner three guy.
Right.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt.
So there's
that is where they get their. I mean, when you have Ben Simmons on your team, those corners, and you said it before, Danny Green is taking the lion's share of the threes, and it's because those are the threes that Ben Simmons tends to create. So I can make an argument there.
Well, yeah, but that also leaves you very little like versatility on the perimeter. Like you have to confine him to the corner, which you want movement, you don't want stagnancy. I mean, unless you're going to use him as like a flare screener and cutter, I guess that in some worlds can work. But he's also like not big enough of a play. I mean, Tucker's only like 6'6", isn't he?
He is 6'5",
yeah.
6'6".
Yeah, so he doesn't have the vertical athleticism to go up against real defenders at the rim. So I just don't see that being the perfect fit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he could help the team because I think anything that off their bench could help. But I don't think he's worth expensing a second-round asset for when you could get someone like Bielitsa.
Yeah, I'm all for extracting value on those margins, but when you're close, and I do think they are close, I think you just have to not let winning or losing every trade value-wise stop you from making the deals to push in. I think that's Danny Ainge's thing, where he has to win every trade, and what you wind up happening is everybody does a victory dance when you get a Carson Edwards as extracted value for moving back a couple of spots so that Sixers can get Thibault, and everybody says that the Sixers got fleeced because Carson Edwards basically went for free. Carson Edwards is, it was like a crapshoot that a 5'10" guy could ever really play for you. So let me share some. Here's PJ Tucker's shot chart, and I'm starting to hear. I'm hearing Justin here. Clearly a better defender 1 through 4 than Bielitsa. That's probably true, right? No question that he's a better defender than Bielitsa. Austin?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so where he doesn't shooting from those spots, I think is attractive. This is PJ Tucker's shot chart right here. Those are the shots you want. You assume he's not going to shoot 32% or whatever he is when he gets wide open shots. But then let's look at Bielitsa's much more classic 3-point stretch 4 type shot chart. So there's more. Let's add that. So here's above the break. Right?
That's what you want. That would be what you want. I mean, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna trust that a guy with that type of shot chart is gonna make a higher volume of open 3-point looks in the corner when they're being fed by good passers, when they're coming from a double team of the most dominant big in the game. I'm gonna trust that shooter is gonna figure out how to make shots from the corners.
I agree with you that these are the shots up here above the break that Joel tends to open up for a player more so than the corners, but Ben Simmons opens up your corner threes. Now here's the question is there a path to get both of these guys? And there probably is, right?
There probably is, but do you need to take up roster spots with 2 4s, or a 2 or a 2 4s / small ball 5s? Like,
Well, I think you have to get a guard.
yeah, you have to get a guard, and I'm guessing they're probably like deep into trying to figure out how they can get Kyle Lowry, because the smoke is just very, very real. It's rising to the top there. And, Kyle Lowry's an expiring. Fred VanVleet's clearly the future of that team. Maybe it's a sending away present, like, thanks for your service.
Well, yeah. So if that's the case, let's use the Kyle Lowry, and I'm not convinced he's the guy, but if you get Kyle Lowry, then you're moving Danny Green, and if you're moving Danny Green, then you're creating a gap in the corners for the corner 3. So a PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry combination actually makes a lot of sense to me. So I could see a scenario where all 3 wind up in Philadelphia if it's Kyle Lowry. Now, if it's another name, like what are your thoughts on Lonzo Ball? Like, who would you rather have? Lonzo Ball expiring, going to restricted free agency, or Kyle Lowry at the money he's making at the age he is?
Kyle Lowry, because that's a championship winning point guard. He's had big playoff games before. Okay. Lonzo Ball has absolutely no first experience in a playoff game at all. Also, all it's going to have to do is take one team offering Lonzo like 16, 17 million per year, and you're probably not going to be able to afford him. Whereas Lowry, I'm guessing you can probably retain him on like 240, maybe 237, 238. But I like the idea of Lonzo. I just think that Kyle Lowry is a whole different level that he brings you to. But Justin says Terrence Ross, Patty Mills, Bielitsa. And someone earlier mentioned Rudy Gay, and this pattern of like people bringing up trades for Spurs, it's good in theory, but like the Spurs don't make big trades during the seasons. That's never been part of their culture or their MO.
Aren't they in the playoff race right now?
Yeah, so they're not moving anybody. Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah. I actually like the idea of Terrence Ross. They're 10 games under 500. He would be an explosive piece for their bench. I like that idea a lot. I'm curious if the Magic decide to like rebuild it, and even though Vooch is having an all-star season, again, I think a lot of these teams are going to see themselves like 2 games back of the 9th, 10th spots in the East and the West. With like by the time of the deadline, they're going to say, "Nah, we're still in this. Let's keep going."
Well, and you've actually talked to, and I'm not going to say who, but an NBA general manager about exactly that point, just about 10 days ago, right? And
yes, and I'll let the record show. I've added another general manager to the list, so we're working.
Do not put it on the stream who it is, but okay. Austin out here making contacts, building relationships. So, what was their take about trade deadline activity?
Yeah, they said it's going to be light. Though they said they're expecting it to be light. I'm very careful with the wording I use because they said they expect it to be light, and that like not only do you have the play-in seeds, but you also have like a lot of financial uncertainty going forward. A lot of irregularities this season. Teams aren't so like excited to make trajectory altering moves this season. I don't see Bradley Beal getting moved anywhere for sure. I don't see Bradley.
Hey, Austin, can we play poker sometime?
What? Yeah, I'll play poker. I'm more of a blackjack guy, but I'll play poker.
No, I'd like to play poker.
Okay.
All right. So I think that there are some risk averse front offices.
Oh, you're saying I have a bad poker face?
Yeah, no poker face whatsoever. I think there are some risk-averse front offices, but I think that's exactly the time where a high-stakes type of risk-tolerant front office like Daryl Morey can come in and really be hyper-aggressive in a fairly conservative environment and really make some hay. So I think the fact that it's predicted to be a light deadline, I think plays into the hands of your ultra aggressive front offices, because those teams that are willing to sell, there's going to be less suitors for those players. So I don't know which teams are going to be sellers, and I think there probably will be less sellers. I agree, but I think for the buyers, there may be less buyers as well. So
I think I can name like 3 to 4 sellers for sure.
Name them.
Like, so Oklahoma City for sure. Minnesota for sure. Who's the last in the East?
I got it right here.
Cleveland's like hanging in there, but
Detroit.
Yeah. I think Wayne Ellington's becoming a very real possibility. And I think Cleveland's hanging in there, but I mean, I think they would move Jetty Osman or
really?
Yeah. Well, why not? Like,
is he expiring?
Let me look.
Let me look up. He's an interest. I think, first of all, he's very good friends with Korkmaz, so that would be interesting because he'd probably be the one that took Korkmaz's minutes.
He's also a way better player than Korkmaz. So that would.
He's a very interesting player, and
he's not expiring. He has his deal. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2024.
Yeah, I'm looking at his number. I think he might just barely not fit into that trade exception.
I'll tell you, he has a great contract for teams that are looking to, like the Clippers, like the Heat. That's a really good contract for a lot of teams.
Let's see if he fits into that trade exception.
He would. Anything like it's at $8 million.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Really? He just barely doesn't. So the trade exception, I think, is 8.7.
Okay.
And he makes 8.8. It just barely doesn't work.
Okay. Well, so then maybe that's the move that another team makes.
8.1 is the trade exception, so it would have to be under that. He's an interesting player, though, for sure.
Yeah. I almost wonder if like Kevin Herter would be available for Atlanta.
Wow. You think so?
I don't know, but like you have Cam Reddish, you have DeAndre Hunter, you have Gallinari, and you have Bogdan Bogdanovic, both of whom are making significant money to come off the bench in Atlanta. So I mean, there's only so much wing depth you can have.
Yeah, but it feels like Herter is a guy I guess it hasn't translated to wins, but he's a guy that would probably cost you
a first.
Matisse Thybulle or Tyrese Maxey.
What's the upside with Thybulle? What are we thinking? I'm trying to think more in terms of upside. And the Thybulle, what really is that upside? Is he like Andre Roberson at best? Is that really anything worth not giving up in a trade?
I would trade Thybulle for Herter. Yes, for sure.
Okay. There was someone else.
Because I think Herter grows into, I think he's already almost there, into a Joe Harris level.
You could argue he's had the best season of all three of Hunter and Reddish.
Yeah.
I wonder if a guy like Garrison Matthews.
Who? .gif?
No, Garrison Matthews for the Wizards.
Garrison Matthews? No idea who that is.
Yeah, he's 24. He's shooting 40% from three on 3.6 attempts per game.
I've literally seen them play 3 times this year, and I have no idea who you're talking about.
Exactly. He's not going to cost you much. Jeremy Grant is not going anywhere.
There's no way he's going anywhere.
Why people keep that's right. They're not going to sign him.
No chance.
Have him do, and keep in mind, if you trade Jeremy Grant, you're going to burn so much goodwill in the future.
He's straight up the face of the franchise.
Yeah, you're gonna. And by the way, part of why he signed in Detroit was because he felt like it was a valuable thing to do for like diversity purposes, with their culture there. So if you trade him, there's implications there. There's also going to be.
He is the face of the franchise. He's the one that kids who are becoming fans are buying his jersey when they're Pistons fans. He is the guy that is selling jerseys right now for Detroit.
Right. But beyond that, because like what is his upside at this point is like what, maybe the second or third best player on a playoff team. He's not a franchise player on a good team.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player who is, again, with the green light, given every shot he could possibly want. He's doing really well with it. But does he thrive at that level, being the third or fourth option? I'm not sure. I think he goes back to being a 12, 13 point a game guy.
Right, like he's the face of a franchise for a team that's 16 games under 500. That's not what you want to be. I mean, it's good for him. It's going to get him a nice contract when all is said and done. But my point is, like, if they trade him, agents are going to not want to send their players to Detroit because they don't know they're going to get traded in the first year of a big contract. That burns a lot of goodwill you have. It's hurt the Celtics beyond belief with how they handled Isaiah Thomas, with them shopping Kemba Walker. That doesn't bode well with high profile free agents when you trade them in the first year of a big deal.
So what do you think the Celtics do?
That's a thing that I keep thinking about endlessly. We had this conversation in the group chat. I think.
Well, hold on. We got a really good critique here. I think this is fair, and we should talk about it. We're defending Joe, but slandering Grant. We're really not slandering Jeremy Grant.
No, I love Jeremy Grant.
What we're saying is
unbelievable.
He is fantastic, face of the franchise. One of 30 NBA teams. He is the face of their franchise. He's unmovable in their eyes, but you don't drop him into a playoff team and he remains a 25 point per game guy on high efficiency. It just doesn't. Context is key. The green light is key when you talk about a guy like that, or they're just guys like that who can put up really big numbers on teams that don't have a lot of other options. I don't think we were criticizing Jeremy Grant.
Like, what is Christian Wood?
Well,
it's the same scenario.
No, because Jeremy Grant is rock solid, community leader, rock solid in the locker room, pro's pro. You don't have to worry about his emotional consistency.
Do you know that that's a problem with Christian Wood?
I didn't say that.
Oh, so that's okay. I see. Yeah. Okay. Poker face. Yeah, like
I think Grant. Look, would I trade Isaiah Joe for Jeremy Grant? 100%, of course.
Yeah.
It's context. It's like reality. Happiness is reality minus expectations. The expectations for an Isaiah Joe are much lower. That's in the Landry Shamet zone. We're now talking about Jeremy Grant as one of the cornerstones of one of the 30 teams in the league. Maybe the worst team in the league, but still.
Well, yeah, like Jeremy Grant's is averaging 23 points a game. That's like 10 above his career high. So, I mean, that's unbelievable. And at this point in his career, like he's 6-7 years into his career. That's pretty incredible that he's doing that. But going back to the Celtics, What do you think of the idea of like Jonas Valanciunas from the Grizzlies? I mean, you maybe they want to.
Are the Grizzlies ready to pack it in? Because I think that's a great.
I think they're 500. I think they're right at 500.
Yeah, they're not packing it in. That team's trending upward. So, yeah, I think that would be great for the Celtics, but who would the Celtics be trading in that scenario? Let me look at the two
Trade
teams.
accepted.
Okay, but then what's the incentive for the Grizzlies to
First
make
round pick. Throw in the first. Go in.
No, they're Grizzlies want to make the playoffs. It's very important for them.
Is there really any value to that in the West?
There is to the city. You become a you become on the radar of the fans of the city again, and they've been out of the playoffs for too long.
If I had to bet, I would say one of DeMarcus Cousins or Andre Drummond ends up in Boston. The whole East right now, I promise you this, the whole East is thinking, how do we stop Joel Embiid? That's the main issue. How do we stop?
Well, then Andre Drummond is not the guy.
He's not the guy, but maybe
he's not the guy.
But maybe Kyrie or maybe Kemba says, like, push him towards that team. They can stop Embiid. We can't.
Yeah. Now, okay. Here's an interesting one. Marcus Smart.
Ooh.
Or Valanciunas. Is Marcus Smart next to Ja Morant? That's interesting.
Yeah. Let me see where Marcus Smart's from. Just to add some spice to it. He's from Texas, so he's.
Yeah, Memphis is not that far from Texas.
Right, it's not. So I mean, we can speculate, make that a little bit of a scenario.
But I think he's so baked into their culture and how.
Yeah, he's everything. He's literally their glue. He's their whole glue guy.
I wouldn't trade him for a non-star.
I feel like if Tatum hadn't signed the contract, I feel like he'd be tradable. I'm not even saying that
Tatum would be tradable.
I'm not even saying that like in a funny way. I'm being genuinely serious because I don't like. At this point, he's basically like a glorified Melo. Do you agree with that? You don't agree with that?
I'm not a huge Tatum fan.
Neither am I. He needs 28 shots to get 30 points.
That's exactly right. And they have a lot of those guys because Kemba's the exact same guy.
Yeah.
He needs a lot of shots, a lot of dribbles to get his shots, and a lot of shots to get his points. And that's a recipe for just unevenness, and really good defenses late in playoffs will shut that down. Both guys dribble too much and take too high difficulty of shots.
Tatum made this one great read. It was like he was attacking, and then he stopped, and then he noticed a cutter. Might have been Peyton Pritchard, but he dimed him for like a little reverse layup. And I was thinking,
what are you doing?
My computer's dirty, and I'm trying to fix it. But
You're live right now. People are watching you.
Good point. I was thinking to myself, if he can make 6 to 7 more of those per game, where he's just he's making plays, reading defenses, and then crashing them and with passing, that would make him a much better player than what he currently is. Right now, he's an inefficient chucker.
Yeah, but it's really tough to go from that sort of mellow mindset, and you use the comp I didn't, to becoming a facilitator. It's hard just from your vision standpoint.
Yeah.
Just attacking the man in front of you while looking for that sliver to get that shot at the rim, while also watching all these moving parts around. That's why point guards are so valuable. The guys that can do it are so valuable because they just can operate with so many things going on. Small forwards just don't tend to have that. That's what makes LeBron so absolutely the best player of all time.
Yeah.
Because there are just so few guys at that size that can operate mentally on that level. And you see Ben Simmons can't do it. Because Ben Simmons' eyes are never at the rim. They're always on the moving chess pieces. And part of the reason he doesn't pull up for a lot of shots is because just his mindset is not at that rim. He will drive downhill on you and get to the rim, but his eyes at 20 feet, at 25 feet, 18 feet are not at that rim. They are at the chess pieces that are moving around him. So I don't. Tatum is good.
He's fine. He's an all-star, but he's not. I don't think I don't think you can say he's a guy that can lead you to a finals yet. He's just not. He's just not efficient. He's just not efficient, and he has turnover issues. He's not really that efficient around the rim, and he doesn't really make anybody better. He doesn't. I'm looking at the Timberwolves. By the way, one of my favorite teams to watch, Timberwolves. Believe it or not, I love watching them.
Okay.
Did you know that they actually give up the least threes in the NBA? And it's I haven't studied it.
They don't protect the rim. Why would you?
Exactly right. They are a revolving door around the rim.
Right, so why bother taking a three?
Right, exactly right. But I'm thinking first of all, they owed D'Angelo Russell $31 million. $31 million they owe D'Angelo Russell.
Okay.
That should cost somebody a job. That should cost somebody a job.
Well, remember, they had to make a decision about Wiggins. They had to pay Wiggins, and they traded and got out from under the Wiggins contract and took on the D'Angelo Russell contract to get out of Wiggins.
I would rather have Andrew Wiggins right now than D'Angelo Russell, I think.
I can't say I disagree. I think that's such a terrible.
He's not a good
choice. There's two bad choices.
And poor Karl Anthony Towns is still there through 23-24 at $35.9 million, and they have no reason to trade him. He's a franchise player. They have absolutely no reason to trade him.
They do, though, because at some point, people are going to stop buying those jerseys and stop showing up to those games, and then they're just going to have to change the name and get another big name star that can sell jerseys and give people a reason to come back to the arena. And he's going to be unhappy and want out. So they'll have to take a flyer on another guy that is like a fake star on another team, putting up empty stats on a bad team, and just roll the dice. Maybe this guy, it'll somehow work.
I saw one of those aggregators today put something out that it was like the Heat are trying to get Karl Anthony Towns. And I'm thinking, didn't Jimmy beef with Karl Anthony Towns at heavy in Minnesota? Or was that Wiggins? I feel like he was cool with Wiggins.
Yeah, he did not like Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, that's like, what is going on here?
He didn't think he had any mental toughness.
Yeah. And by what I understand, he had that same feeling about somebody in Philadelphia. You know who?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't think he's right about that.
No, I don't. I think it's been proven wrong. But I think at the time there might have been something right there.
Because I think he is dead wrong.
You don't think he was right about that?
I think he's 100% wrong that Ben Simmons is not mentally tough and doesn't work. I think he's wrong.
So you think Ben works behind the scenes?
Yeah, I do. I think Ben is tough, and I think he works.
I think he's tougher.
No, Ben is tough. No. Ben was never soft mentally at all. There is a stubbornness to him that he feels unappreciated for all of the things he does do, and people obsess over the thing that he doesn't do. There's a stubbornness there, but it's not a softness. He's not soft.
I agree. I'm saying at the time when I wasn't as attentive and observant as I am 2 years later, I would maybe have dealt that way, but I don't obviously anymore. I mean, I think he's a top 15, top 20 player in the league right now, Ben.
I mean, we'll see how the playoffs go. I think his limitations are still there. I think he has played much better as he's gotten comfortable with Doc's offense and where his outlets are. But And he's dunking more, isn't he?
I love that he is taking that one extra step, the one extra dribble at the rim, and he's finishing aggressively instead of lining it up.
It's exactly what we talked about before the season
that
he had to do. And
that was the one thing. That was the one thing. I was like, I don't care about a jump shot. I really don't care. He needs to go up aggressively, and he's starting to do that way more often now. And he's not. It's not even just like in transition where it's like if I get around this one guy, I'm scot free. It's like he's breaking it down through half court offenses, and he's like, I'm going to get around you. I'm going to physically move you out of the way, and find a way around you.
Yeah, it was really impressive when that first game in Toronto, and I know that Trebuchet hit like a billion threes in the third, and they wound up losing that game. But when Toronto came out and tried to play ultra small ball and started OG Anunoby at the opening tip and Siakam as their quote-unquote center, Ben Simmons was like, oh, well, fuck you. I'm going to put it in the rim. I'm going to dominate you on the boards. And he completely threw their game plan out the window just from being stronger and tougher and attacking the rim relentlessly until they had to put Aaron Baines in the game. He forced Toronto to scrap their game plan. That's stuff that he's doing. That's really.
I'll tell you, I think the Raptors did it brilliantly, where they had they would get like 2 or 3 bodies around Joel with their length, and then they would have Fred VanVleet come in last second and just slap.
They're really good at attacking Joel, but Ben really scrapped their game plan.
Yeah,
in that first quarter of that first game.
What do you think of like Malik Beasley from Minnesota?
I don't love him. What do you think?
Do you know about him?
Yes. Yeah, I've what?
Do you have?
I don't love him. He's exactly the kind of player that I watch and I don't want.
45 and a half.
Exactly.
40.6 from 3, 20 and a half points per game.
I'm looking at that, and I watch him, and I don't trust that type.
And his middle name is John Michael, and his nickname is the Mutant. I'm trading for him. I gotta trade that. To have the Mutant on your team would be freaking awesome.
What's he getting paid? He's still really young. That's surprising.
16 mil, I think.
And he's been in the league. This is his 7th year in the league? 6th. Okay.
Malik Beasley come home. I like it.
Damn. Is he a local guy?
No, but he's from Florida, which is close enough. Maybe he's not from Florida, but he's getting there.
He went to high school in Alpharetta, Georgia, outside of.
Even better.
Went to Florida State.
That much closer to Philadelphia. Let's bring him home.
Let me do the math there. I'm not sure it is. So, okay. He's the kind of guy I don't trust in the league. Let me look him up on.
I'm thinking my thing is this. I think the Sixers need to try to mimic as closely as possible. I'm not even saying it's like a troll. I'm being 100% serious. I believe this. Okay. I think the Blazers have the perfect depth for the Sixers to try to mimic. Like long, athletic, can shoot a little bit. But they're just ultra lengthy. And there's not really a mismatch you can pinpoint off that bench where you're like, yeah, I don't like this. Like Derek Jones Jr. Is like one of their feature pieces off that bench. Let's see who else they got off the bench. It is like Nasir Little, Rodney Hood, Anthony Simons. They have a Blevins off their bench. They literally have your little nephew.
I know.
Belgian. So
he played in the game while I was there a couple of weeks ago. He got a few minutes in that game.
Yeah. So like the modern NBA, you have to strive for that ultra switchiness. And a lot of teams don't even run switch games. Sixers really don't do much switching at all. Am I correct in that?
Well, they did. They switched everything 1 through 4 for the last 7 years. They've done less of it this year under Doc, but they basically were switch everything. They did less of it last year when they brought in Ime Udoka. They mixed it up a little bit. Prior to that, it was switch everything, and that's how they were getting hunted. JJ Redick was getting ISO'd and hunted in the playoffs because they were predictable and switching everything. So teams just had to run a few screens, and they could get JJ ISO'd out on the wing on an island. So
yeah. What do you think of Al Horford back in Boston? Because I think that's a trade that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I agree. It makes too much sense. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. It seems like an obvious move.
Would you put money on that? I think I'd put money on that.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not a betting man, but I would put money on that.
How betrayed do they feel that he signed and left them?
I think they'd feel betrayed if they had lost to the team, but they beat them 4-0. So,
Okay.
and he looked quite horrific in the process. So,
yeah, I don't know what the vibe is between him and that front office now. It could be fine, and if it's fine, I think he makes perfect sense. But I do think they play a little bit differently now than they did when he was there. I think they've shifted a little bit of their play style. And is he still a major upgrade over Tice? I'm not 100% sure.
I got to tell you, I love Daniel Tice. I love him.
So he's probably a better fit than Tristan Thompson. But
well, Tristan Thompson also just isn't good anymore. He's let's be honest. He doesn't give you anything offensively. He got absolutely moved by Zion 2 weekends ago, and when I saw that, Zion knew exactly where to go, and he knew where Zion was going to go too. I'll tell you, he had no chance, and he knew exactly what was coming.
Yeah, so I don't know. He probably does make sense for Boston.
Yeah.
And
Embiid's
yeah, the trade exception. I assume it works. I haven't looked at it.
It does. I tried it already.
What's that?
I tried it already. It works.
It does work. Okay. The team. I'll be honest. I'm not that worried about Boston.
No, neither would I.
I'm majorly concerned about the Nets. I think the Nets have so much so many minutes to fill in the buyout market. They can offer a really significant role to JJ Redick if he gets bought out, to DeMarcus Cousins, to Bielitsa if he gets bought out. There's a bunch of guys I think that are being talked about being bought out. That I don't think Blake Griffin. He's the one guy I don't like the fit, but I think the Nets can offer such a good juicy role for and a huge chance to ring to these buyout candidates that I think the Sixers have to be a little more aggressive, probably overpay to keep guys out of the buyout market, and sort of give up a second just to keep them away from Brooklyn.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, I started thinking that as well. What do you think is the floor
for
team?
For the Nets?
The Sixers.
The floor, what is their worst case scenario in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Is
there a world where they lose first round?
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, because I don't think they're going to be the number one seed. I think it's just it's too tight. I think the Nets they just have too many ways to win on any given night. I think that when they get serious, they'll be fine defensively. They're going to get players added to that roster. So as the 3 seed, I think they're vulnerable because you look at who's going to be the 6 seed. It's going to be Indiana. It's going to be Miami. It's, let me look at.
Indiana doesn't scare me.
They don't scare me, but it's an uncomfortable. Right now, it's the Knicks, right? It's not going to be the Knicks are the 5 seed. They're not going to be. They're going to slip probably to 7 or 8.
The playoff Knicks.
Oh, the Raptors could be in that 6 seed.
Yeah.
So, I think it's there is some risk if they fall to the 6 seed. I think if they're the 2 seed, I think they're totally fine. I think they go to, so they would be the 2 seed, then they would play probably the Bucks in the second round. I think they beat the Bucks in the second round. And so to me, the 2 seed becomes a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals pretty clearly. I think they beat the Bucks. At the 3 seed, I think they have a little bit of risk in that first round. What do you think?
I think their floor is like a very hard fought first round series, and they end up losing to like just a mismatch like Toronto, or if like Miami adds a piece, Miami could do it. I think. Does Miami scare you? They don't scare you at all.
Nope. Didn't scare me last year either.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they don't.
Okay. I would try to stay away from Miami and Toronto. If you can land that 2 seed, I'm pretty comfortable with anything. But yeah, I think like the floor, I would probably say, taking like all probabilities in there, I would probably put the floor at like a second round losing 6.
See, I don't see them losing in the second round.
Whereas if I think their ceiling is like they get to the finals, if they get past the Nets, I'm comfortable with them beating anybody. Like just
yeah. If they get past the Nets, that puts them in the NBA Finals, and I think they match up just fine with any of the 3 likely teams to come out of the West. I think they match up just fine.
Yeah. So
the Nets are the problem.
Yeah.
Nets are a real problem because you can't take you're going to have Embiid guarding the rim, but
by the way,
the Nets don't have to attack the rim. And you have your Ben Simmons who can be disruptive and take away their first option, but they have 3 first options. So you only have 1 of him. So now you're probably having to throw Thibault if you still have him, and I don't think that's a guarantee. Thibault out there playing more than you want, and that makes you play 4-on-5 on the other end, and it's just I don't like the matchup.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Bruce Brown is really good. Really, 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 really good for them. His offensive game has developed a ton. He's now hitting 3s. He's now passing out of the short roll and finding guys in the corner. He's doing a lot for them.
And what is your prediction on how many minutes per game he's going to play in the playoffs?
Good point. 16 to 18.
Really? You think once they
14 to 16,
a bunch of guys?
14 to 16.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
Well, think about it. Like, let's say the Nets go all in on like wings in the buyout market. What is the attraction of going to Brooklyn if your competition for minutes is James Harden, Kevin Durant, Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton? Even though he's not a wing, he's a big. I think they're an attractive market for like bigs, but for a guy like Blake Griffin or like other like wing shooters, it's a lot of competition to vie for.
JJ Redick is not worried about Bruce Brown.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not in the least.
So do you think JJ ends up back in Philly? I kind of don't see it anymore the way I used to.
I think they really should try to do it because I think it's a role that the just unlocks a lot of things, and then they should have it on the floor for 48 minutes. I think Furkan is not good enough to be that guy with Seth Curry, and I just think you need it on the floor at all times. So I think they should really consider it. I think he and Embiid have great on-court chemistry. So I just think they should do it. But if I'm JJ Redick and my house is in Brooklyn and I can, walk to the arena, it's hard not to take up that chance to play in New York and bring a championship to New York. So in a buyout situation, I think the Nets have a leg up relative to the Sixers. So I think you have to trade for him. And there are ways to make that trade work, but I think you'd have to trade for him.
I think if Joel says to Daryl Morey, "Go get me JJ Redick," he's trading whatever second round picks he needs to get JJ Redick on the team.
I don't think, honestly, knowing Joel, I don't think he has ever said that in his life, and I just don't think he's wired to have that conversation. He is just too respectful of his elders, let's say, of authority, to ever have that. He might make a subtweet here and drop a hint there, but he's just not the type of guy that would walk into a general manager's office and say, "Go get me this guy." I don't see it. So let me see what. Yeah, it's not that easy to make the money work with JJ Redick, to be honest. They'd probably have to include. You could probably include Poirier.
Well, that's a big loss, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Okay. So you can make the money work pretty easily. Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson, and Vincent Poirier does make the money work for JJ Redick. So it can be done via trade.
Let me. Do you notice that, like, in the pressers, when they ask Joel about Doc, he doesn't come out and say, like, "Yeah, we have, like, this awesome relationship"?
He doesn't want to disrespect Brett Brown.
You think that would be disrespectful to Brett Brown?
Yeah. Joel's ultra deferential to. Yes. Yep. Big time.
So do you think he's actually, like, distant from Brett from Doc in reality, or you think he just, like, he doesn't?
No, not at all. He just would never say anything. I think that would be taken by Brett as unappreciative or disrespectful. I think he's super careful about that. I think he tells stories about, when he was a kid at school, sneaking out when he should have been doing homework to go play soccer. Yeah. And it's just the way he's wired. He's just never gonna be upfront about that stuff.
What do you think Brett Brown's doing right now? I'm very curious about that.
Well, I think he's the head coach for Team Australia, the Boomers, for the Olympics. So my guess is he's just, casually prepping for that. Probably going to a bunch of games in Australia, watching guys play.
So you think he's just living out in Australia right now?
That's my guess, or he's just watching tape here. But
you think he watches games? You think he watches them play, Sixers?
I don't know. Would you? Like,
no.
Anytime I ever left a job, I felt weird. Like, even if I worked at a restaurant when I was a teenager, I would feel weird going back into that restaurant, even if I quit the job.
I don't think I would go back and watch. I think it would bring up memories that I didn't want to relive.
Yeah, I think so. I think, but that, he's a lifer, so that's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. So yeah, if he's got a kid playing in high school, then he's probably still in the area. But I do know he is the coach of the Boomers. So
I did read a story how like his daughter works at some sort of like deli type shop in like the Lower Merion area, and she's like special needs, I believe. Right, that was what the story said. I think the whole.
I don't think that's an appropriate conversation to have.
Yeah, no, neither do I.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. He could still be in the area, and he's got a lot of he's beloved in the coaching basketball world. He's got a lot of great old friends. I was a little bit surprised to see him not down with Steve Clifford in Orlando because they're such good friends. But I haven't seen any indication that he is working with them in any capacity. He's also got a little bit of a history with Markel, so maybe that would be awkward and weird. But really, I don't know.
A picture of him like hugging Markel recently.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think back to the point. I don't think Joel is the type of person to, maybe when he's 30, he'll be stronger in that. But we've asked him a couple of times about. I've specifically asked him about the types of players he needed around him and conversations he had with Doc and Daryl, and he deferred. He was very deferential and just saying, I need these kind of guys, but that's their job, and he was very careful, very respectful. So I just don't think he's going to demand a JJ Redick in an upfront way. But when you look at it, again, they only have a couple of different bullets they can in the chamber salary-wise that they can pull to make these moves. I think they need to make 2 moves. But it's interesting that they could. Oh, wow. Okay, look. Our Aussie contingent, we got a couple of you. He quit that. That's interesting. I did not know that. I don't know why he would have done that, but that's look, good for him. He had a very nice run. I'm sure he'll be coaching somewhere at some point. And,
yeah, I mean, again, I'm pretty sure he's living in the area, but that's a different story, a different time. But well, so Joel has like subtly mentioned some things like I don't think we're taking enough threes. He said that. And that's a like read between the lines. He's saying it without saying it.
Yeah, I mean he's a subtweeter for sure. So if you think about the different triggers they can pull money wise, they have the trade exception, 8.1 million. That would make Bielitsa work, right? Mm-hmm. You got the Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson, and Poirier package. That would make a JJ Redick move work. But if you pull that trigger, you can't make Lowry work because you need to put sort of that grouping of added salary to Danny Green to make the Lowry salary match. So I think that move, the Redick move, takes the Lowry move off the table salary wise.
So what do you think they're like? List the 3 most likely moves for them that you think are going to happen.
I think I think the Tucker thing. There's so much smoke around the Tucker thing. That seems like a buyout move. And
Lowry,
I guess.
Do you think
you're a Nova guy? I don't quite understand how, besides Lowry being good and a winner, how he fits this offense.
I mean, I think Derek Bodner thinks he's the perfect fit.
But he didn't explain why.
shot creator, ball handler in the half court.
That's all theoretical summer off-season stuff. But you've got an offense that they run. You've got a Ben Simmons on the floor. So I get when Ben Simmons is off the floor and Lowry is running the offense. But
well, I also think that he helps that closing lineup in that you don't have to play Seth. You aren't. There's not really a defensive weak link if you have, or maybe there is. There's always a weak link, but there's not. It's not as pronounced if you have Joel, Ben, Tobias, Kyle Lowry, and say Shake Milton as your closing lineup. And again,
just don't exactly know how what he does well fits into what the Sixers do every night.
Well, for one, he's going to increase 3-point volume. That's number one.
Is he though?
Jason, come on, man. Of course he is. Oh, these stats better prove me right because I look like a jackass if they're wrong.
I don't know. He's a guy that increases 3-point volume.
He's attempting 7 per game. He would be there. It's 7 a game. It's 7 a game. I'm looking at it right now.
6 a game.
It's 7 a game. 7.1 per game.
Oh yeah, I was in the wrong column. Good job.
There you go.
That is a lot. That is a lot of threes this year.
He would be their leading 3-point shooter by volume, and really percentage too. Really, shooting 86 at the line with 7 assists. Assist to turnover ratio of 7.1 to a little better than double assist to turnover ratio. He's literally perfect.
It doesn't scare you that Toronto's better when he's not there.
I don't take stock in that kind of thing. I just don't.
You don't take stock in the team being better without you, and so I'm not crazy, right, Justin?
No, you are crazy. The fans. Listen, I work during when I'm not covering the NBA, I work in customer service. And let me tell you, the customers are almost never right. And the fans are never right.
But the fans all want him.
This guy doesn't. Lowry doesn't fit. Justin doesn't want him.
Every other fan he's the only guy that I've heard that, because I feel like I'm the only voice going, I don't exactly understand how it fits.
He's the only fans. Thank you.
Okay. Good. All right. Well,
I'll be here all night.
Oh, yeah. Very nice.
Yes.
All right. So, Nasty brings up Levine. Is there still any chance they pull off a Levine deal?
No.
Why are you saying no?
Look at the contract. He's a max player making $16 million.
Yeah. On a team that is the problem is they're right on the door of the playoffs right now. They're no longer a garbage squad.
But think about it. You're going to destroy. I mean, right now he's the face of the Chicago Bulls, a shooting guard, 25 years old, the face of the Chicago Bulls. That's very, 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 very marketable in that city. And to just trade him for what? Matisse Thybulle as the centerpiece of the deal? Come on. He's making his salary each year until 2022, and he's an unrestricted free agent, 19.5.
Yeah,
he's right. Russell Westbrook's making 40.
Yeah, I think the window for getting him close
was draft night. That was your draft. That was draft night, and they couldn't get it done. Which okay.
Yeah, and he came out and became an all-star.
Yeah, and then Bradley Beal was just like a fallback option a fallback dream if they didn't get Harden.
So without saying too much, why do the Wizards keep Bradley Beal? Talk me into, if you're the Wizards, why you keep him.
Community. Generally, when there's that type of loyalty to a franchise like there is with Dame and Portland and Steph with Golden State, it doesn't build. This is all about building goodwill with your franchise with people around the league.
Did they lose goodwill when they traded the much more popular John Wall?
He wanted out. He threw by the trade.
I'm not sure.
am coming in hot tonight. I'm ready to go. Let's get till 3 a.m. We'll just keep talking till 3 a.m.
What time is it? Oh, we've gone almost 2 hours. This is ridiculous.
No, this is great. I love it. I'm winning every argument. I love it. It's good. Could you talk yourself into Pascal Siakam, even though that would never happen?
Oh yeah, I think he's fantastic.
You think he's good?
Yeah, I do. I think he's very good.
I think he. I'm not big on Pascal at all right now.
Really?
What does he do? What is his ceiling right now?
What is his ceiling? He is like Matisse Thybulle if Matisse Thybulle was 6'9" and could dribble. Spit take.
Six nine and can dribble. What?
He can definitely dribble.
Where is
He's
your
very
weed?
good.
Where is your weed supply?
No, he's very good.
Yes, he's very. He with Matisse Thybulle on his best day is not even half of what.
That's what I said. Matisse Thybulle, if he was 4 inches taller and could dribble,
I
is a very good player.
I think the ceiling on Pascal Siakam is like your second or third best player on a really good team.
He was literally the second best player on a championship team.
Was he?
For sure. Who was the second best player on Toronto?
Kyle Lowry.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
What are you doing, Jason? Why are you doing this to me?
Look, it's not that I think Lowry's not a good player. I don't think he was the second best player on that team.
I just wish we had a recording of my spit take because that was brilliant. That was very well.
This is all going to go on YouTube. Lowry was 15 points a game that year. Let's see. I'm surprised you don't like Siakam. I think
he really he can't create his own shot really from within outside of the 3-point line. He's just a spin cycle guy. He's okay around the rim. He doesn't. I mean, he had a great year last year because he was like it was a really good story, and he was the best player on the team that was like the second best team in the East.
He was definitely their second best player that championship year. I'm looking at the numbers.
What do the numbers say?
120 offensive rating, 107 defensive rating. He scored 17 a game for that team. Lowry scored 15 a game.
With how many?
Lowry had a +5. Lowry was a 111 offensive rating, 106 defensive rating. And I get that Lowry had a much bigger workload, but at being a point guard, I know that Lowry did a lot of great stuff in weird ways. His ability to defend in the post and to post up guards because of his strength, his low center of gravity was great. But I think Siakam was the second most disruptive player. He flat out was the reason that Toronto took game 1 against the Sixers for sure. And he was.
I thought it was Kawhi Leonard scoring 40-something points, but
yeah, but then he forced Embiid to go guard him in game 2 to take him away from that team in game 2. So, all right, let's move on to some other players that. So, SGA, what are your thoughts on him?
I don't know that he can be a superstar in the West. I think he's going to be a multi-time All-Star.
Who would you take? Ja Morant or SGA?
Ja Morant. I'm guessing you would take SGA.
Man,
I know you very well. You take an SGA.
It's a really tough one because I love Ja. He's one of my favorite young players, but he's 6'2" and SGA's 6'6". But I think I like. That would be a really tough one for me. to me, those are the two that would be really close to each other.
So 5 years.
I'm going to go with the 6'6" guy. Yeah.
5 years from now, who are the five best point guards in the East? Or in the West? West.
Ja is definitely one. SGA is, assuming they're still in the West. SGA is one. Dame will probably be falling off. Jamal Murray will be one.
I'm kind of wavering on Jamal Murray. I think he's very, 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 very good, but 19 a game is enough.
Yeah, but we're looking at top 5 in 5 years.
Fine, yeah.
He's probably in that top 5. De'Aaron Fox is in there, so that's 4.
I love DeJounte Murray. I love DeJounte Murray. I think he's everything you want in a guard these days.
Let me look at Murray. We're can't believe we've gone this long.
What do you think of like tossing names out here?
Now Murray's true shooting percentage is low. You talk about low efficiency.
Yeah, it's not very high. He didn't get to the line that much. Who are the other point guards?
I think we probably just named the top 5 years from now. And we got to see who comes in the draft.
Is Devin Booker's not a point guard, but he'll be one of the top 5 guards if he's still in the East or still in the West.
But he will be. The way that they're playing this year, he'll be there well into his next contract.
Nasty. If you would like to reward us for our endeavors,
We appreciate you watching. All right.
Luka's not a point guard. He's
effectively their point guard.
Point forward.
He is effectively their point guard. Like, for all intents and purposes, he plays that role.
So that is, would you consider Zion a point guard? I wouldn't either, but aren't they effectively?
No, Luka, I think plays a very different role.
I guess it would have to be Jamal Murray, DeJounte, SGA, Ja. Yeah, I guess that would be it.
De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox, yeah.
So and Luka, if we're saying he's
so that means that there's like 5 or 6.
Although in 5 years, Luka may be slowed down a bit and may be a different type player.
My guess is that that SGA probably doesn't ever reach that superstar status, but he's like a multi-time, like 1 to 2-time All-Star. He might be like the Mike Conley type.
Yeah, and Mike Conley makes teams better even when he's not looking like an All-Star like he is this year. He makes his team better, and that's the job.
Oh, look at that.
Don't do that. Well, thank you. Please don't beg for money, Austin.
I'm a poor man.
Yeah.
You appreciate you. You appreciate
that. That is very nice. I keep thinking we're rambling, and I see nobody's logging off. So what else do we talk about, Austin? Anything you want?
Do you think the Utah Jazz are real?
No, I don't.
You don't? I think they're really, 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 really good.
Okay.
They shoot the hell out of the ball. They got 3 or 4 guys that can handle. Everyone clearly buys into their roles. They have a really good system where you have they funnel guys to Gobert, and he's not very good in space, but he's generally pretty good around the rim with his length.
Which team knocks them out of the playoffs?
I don't know.
The Lakers, for sure.
You think? I don't know. Yeah, probably LeBron. Yeah. Okay.
LeBron will dissect that team.
Yeah. And they'll start complaining again about how they're a small market team that no one cares about.
What do you think about the Clippers?
I have a strong gut feel that George Hill ends up on the Clippers.
I'm surprised that Griffin hasn't already signed back there, but I guess he
hated the Clippers. They're all gone by now, but
he hates their owner, and for good reason. That guy's trash.
Ballmer?
Ballmer's the worst.
What makes you say that?
Well, I come from the tech world, and he basically ran Microsoft into the ground, and they had to rescue it with the next CEO when he retired. So he is bad at what he does. He's a high energy guy. He's a rah guy. He's got a shit ton of money, but he makes very short sighted decisions, and he makes big splashes without really looking at the future and moving towards the future. So I think he was a good recruiter for two guys that wanted to play in LA anyway. He got them to play for him instead of the Lakers, and Kawhi and Paul George. But I think day to day, it's a lot of false bravado, false energy that he brings, and I don't think he creates a really strong organization. Let me just tell you this. He purchased for $4 billion Nokia to put Windows on a cell phone. This is 5 years after saying that iPhone was a toy that would never take off.
Sounds like he doesn't quite have a handle on what he's talking about.
He was the sales guy for Microsoft when Bill Gates was building it. He then became the CEO, almost ran that company into the ground. They gently got him out of there. Microsoft went to the cloud, went to a cloud strategy, and they've recovered very nicely. But he almost ran that company into the ground.
It sounds like a role model to live by. That's Steve Ballmer right there. The Clippers, Kawhi is not a point guard. Paul George, you can't run your offense through Paul George posting up and then taking contested long twos.
Well, okay. Would you rather have SGA or Paul George right now? Isn't that the trade they made?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably rather have
with the team you've got in LA.
I'd probably rather have SGA. And
that's exactly the kind of move that a Steve Ballmer makes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying based on what you said, that would make sense. They just don't have Patrick Beverley is very good at what he does, but he's not like a point guard that's going to get you into your offense. Yeah, he's a guy that's going to come out of nowhere, tip away defensive rebounds, and then turn them into second chance points. He's going to get in your head. He's going to rah pump you up. But he's not going to he can't he's not a guy that's going to direct an offense. And they you can see it. They don't let him do it. In fact,
no, he's not that guy.
They often go to Reggie Jackson as their primary point guard.
Yeah, and that's Reggie Jackson was able to have a nice little flash there because of the attention that Kawhi and Paul George take. Can we just note the sheer volume of liquid that Austin has consumed tonight? He's finished his second full container of liquid. All right, Griffin to the Sixers.
It's high quality H2O.
There was a point where I let myself do the thought experiment about Griffin about 2 months ago, and I just don't see. It's not the Jenner triangle.
It's not really a thing. I don't think that's a thing.
It's the triangle on the offense doesn't make sense as the third leg of that offense. I don't think he helps them defensively. I don't I don't love it. Who are they clowning? This is at
They
that
were
draft.
clowning the Jazz last night because they were like, no one played with the Jazz in 2K. Like, no, it's not like it's not that we're being disrespectful. It's just that no one gives a shit about the Jazz, which is, I mean, it's not wrong.
Look, if you've ever been to Salt Lake City, you will not go back a second time.
What do you think of the Miami Heat? Just like, what do you think about them?
I feel the same exact way I felt last year. Like they made a magical bubble run to get to the finals, but they threaded the needle, and I just don't believe in them.
Okay.
I just don't believe in them.
I think Duncan Robinson has lost a little bit of that shooting gravity that he had last year. I think because people like know how to guard him now. He's not just some like incredible story. They've watched film on him. They've taken him. They've kind of limited him. They don't like on the flare screens. They communicate well over them now. And he doesn't really get the space that he once had. He's still making shots, but he's not making them like the prolific JJ rates that he was. Tyler Hero, I think, has taken a step back.
But again, it's the same thing. I think, like you just said, he's a guy that got on people's radar, got on people's scouting report. They figured out what he doesn't do well. He's got negative wingspan, and I think they snuck up. They snuck up on a lot of people last year. I think they rode the Jimmy chip on his shoulder, get on my back, we're going to do this thing, hero act. And I just don't. It was a very nice story last year. I just don't believe in them.
Okay. And do you believe in Bam?
Yeah, he's very good. What do you think about Bam? I think he's very good.
I think.
What level of good do you think he is?
I think he's like Joel light, very very light Joel.
Joel Embiid is a Hall of Fame player. He's going to be one of the 5 to 7 best centers of all time. So I don't think it's fair to compare anyone to him. First of all, he's like 6'9", right? He's nowhere near the. You have to compare him to a guy that's in that. Is he as good as what was the guy from the Pistons in the mid 2000s? The super rebounder.
Wallace?
Ben Wallace. Is he a better player than Ben Wallace?
Probably.
Better on offense, maybe not quite as dominant on the glass, maybe. But I mean, I think that's the tier of player you're looking at with Bam. He's like, I don't know if Ben Wallace is a Hall of Famer. I think he's a significant player.
Do you think he's kind of like maybe a different version of Giannis?
No, he's not as good as Giannis.
Yeah, no. I know. But like conceptually speaking, like long and lanky, can defend multiple positions. Okay, mid-range shooter. Really, just like a havoc creator around the rim.
Yeah, he's like a perfect theoretical modern NBA center. Like he's the guy. Like if you just want a guy that you say we need a non-superstar center, it's going to help us win every night. He's the guy you draw up on the chalkboard. Like he's better than Clint Capella, but he does some of the same things. He's better than Clint Capella, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait, who?
Bam.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Is he better than prime DeAndre Jordan?
I was like, are you really asking me if Bam's better than Clint Capella? Of course he is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. He's better than prime DeAndre Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than prime Drummond.
Right. Doesn't put up the numbers that Drummond did, but better player for sure.
I think he could be like a Marc Gasol.
I don't think he can shoot like Marc Gasol. I think
No.
Marc Gasol's ability to get just without having to jump, always be in the right spot defensively, and always create a problem without having to leave his feet was a huge bonus. He's better than Vucevic, right?
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's better than Vucevic.
Is he?
I think he creates more problems for a team in different ways. Yeah.
So let's say he's above. You put him above Vooch.
Mm-hmm. Is he better than Steven Adams?
Is he better than Sabonis?
I think he's better than Sabonis. I think he's better than Steven Adams, and I think very highly of what Steven Adams brings to a team, even though the numbers aren't there. So I think he's really good. I think he's a top 5 center for sure. He might be.
Is he a center?
In the NBA of 2021, yeah, I do. I think so. Yep. I don't think you need a center if you have him on the floor. Like that's the question, right? If you have Bam on the floor, do you need a center? No. You're not going to get killed on the boards if you don't have a classic center. Here's a name you haven't heard in a while: Emeka Okafor, prime Emeka Okafor. Bam better than. It's a really interesting comp. Maybe you're too young.
I remember Emeka. He was from UConn. Was pretty good in Charlotte.
Yeah, he was very good.
Um,
That's an interesting thing because they have similar builds. Interesting. Comp.
yeah, I guess you have to you put him above Vooch. That's kind of where he is right now. Better than Sabonis. I don't like Sabonis. I'm not a big Sabonis guy. He's way better than Miles Turner. Both Sabonis and Bam.
Bam is definitely better than Miles Turner, but
Yeah.
Miles Turner should be better than Miles Turner is. Miles Turner, why did he not progress more?
I don't know, but I was able to ask Joel about that. That's the game. He was like, "I've dominated."
Yeah, you had some good questions. You and Kai had the Joel brought the fire on Kai's question the other night, and then you got a really good answer out of him.
Yeah.
I like that he's rewarding guys that I think he likes. Joel doesn't just feed the names that he's heard for his whole career. Like he rewards people that ask interesting questions.
Yeah. I'm not touching this. I'm not comfortable with answering that question.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of backstory with that, and we've had a lot of off-record conversations around it. I will just say that Drummond never should have been on that list. Even if it's agents around the league trying to sort of undermine an MVP candidate, even if it's Clutch trying to sort of create a narrative to undercut MVP. Hey, look.
Good question. The marathon.
It's a good question. It's a solid question.
You can donate to a charity by giving us a call at 610. No, don't call me or anyone, please. But donate to charity if you'd like. This is a good question. Are the Suns for real? I like the Suns a lot.
I think
I like them a lot.
I think the
They're
bones
tough
of
as hell. The Suns.
I think the bones of a the bones of a team are elite point guard, big center with an elite shooting guard, and you have the makings of a really good team. So,
is that Miss Blevins in the background that you just?
My son,
Andrew.
Yep. So,
does he know that you have a third adoptive son with a Jew crow, Jewish fro?
No, he does not. He does not know that. I also wonder why we're still live. So the Suns are probably not. What round are they going out?
Second, right?
But it's going to be an exciting second round, right? They lose to the Lakers in round 2, or they lose to.
Could you see them beating the Lakers? I could
see
kind
them
of
beating the Jazz.
I could see them beating the Lakers, Jazz, Clippers because they have
I see them beating, not the Lakers.
I don't think the Lakers are that good.
LeBron James is a different animal. He's the smartest player of all time. He's the best player of all time, and he's completely different in the playoffs. But I could see them beating the Jazz.
How about?
I also think Donovan Mitchell puts up 250 burgers against the Suns in a playoff series because, just because
He can get his 50 burgers all he wants.
Yeah.
How many shots does it take him? That's
exactly as many shots as he gets points. He's pretty much at 1.05.
He's gonna be like he'll get 50 points on 16 for 40 shooting.
Yeah.
What? That's not very good.
No, the only time it really helps you is if it's close with 2 minutes left. It's like you need a guy that can just do that. He's averaging 24 points on 20 shots this year, and that's not great. That's 1.2 points per shot. Give some context to that.
Do you think the Nuggets can beat the Lakers?
Can the Nuggets beat the Lakers?
I don't think the Nuggets get out of the first round. And I would guess that's probably where you fire Michael Malone.
Well, what seed do you think they wind up being?
4 or 5.
So right now they're the 6th seed. So who falls to put them in top 4? You think the Blazers fall?
Probably, but it won't be for a lack of Dame. I'll tell you what.
So the Nuggets would face. I think the Suns probably fall to the 4 seed. So the Nuggets Suns first round could be very interesting.
The Nuggets have kind of had like a Sixersian type of rise. Go from missing the playoffs to a 4 seed. It's very Sixersian, circa 2017-18.
The Suns.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the way that they're constructed.
What do you think of Ayton? I think Ayton. Do you think he has a star in his future?
I would have taken Ayton number 1.
You would have?
Yes. I think those guys take time. I just think centers take time to develop, and I think the guy's averaging 11.5 rebounds a game, starting every game, 15 and 11, shooting 60% from the field. What exactly is the argument against Ayton right now? He's offensive ratings 121, defensive ratings 107. That's elite.
Yeah, I don't got any argument against that.
62% true shooting percentage.
Yeah,
the dude is legit. I think there was this is how young centers come into the league and they struggle. It's point guards and centers have the biggest learning curve to come in. And who was the second pick in that draft?
It was Marvin Bagley, and then it was Trey. Right. Then it was
right, and Trey. So you put the ball in Trey's hands and let him shoot every shot. Was that the Luka draft? Yeah, that was
draft. Yes.
Yeah. So everybody was like, of course you get Luka, but
I would say
let's look again in 5 years.
One of my rarest L's was that Luca or that Bagley would be a star.
Bagley looked like a bust to me but you have to convince me that a Duke player is not a bust. Like, you need a mountain of evidence to convince me that any Duke player coming out is not a bust. They're bust by default in my mind. Just like a Villanova player is fine by default, like not going to disappoint. Like, if you think they're going to be X level, they're going to be the X level plus a little bit. It's just how they are. Duke players, I think they're going to be bust. Kentucky players, I think they're going to be like third year awesome. Once they get into the third year, they just tend to be third year type guys that explode. So I didn't like Bagley at all.
Let's wrap it up with some coaches talk, because my sense is that Budenholzer is on a very, 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 very hot seat.
It's Milwaukee. How hot can a seat be in Milwaukee? There's no sports radio to be calling for his head. He's got them winning 60% of their games, going to the playoffs. Who's going to call for his head?
The best player on the team?
No chance. Best player on the team gets to handle the ball every possession, do whatever he wants. If you're Giannis and you're kind of introverted and you're in a small market where no one does anything but show your highlights and no one really critiques you, no one ever critiques Giannis.
I do.
But he never gets any critique. The people put him in the top 3 of the MVP race and never say, yeah, but. Every other player every other superstar gets the yeah, but. Gets the first take, what doesn't he do well? Giannis doesn't get any of that critique. I just don't think there is a hot seat in Milwaukee. I don't think that exists.
Okay.
I think they're very happy to be, very good, and get them next year.
I think they're sunk. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are very much sunk because they're capped out. They're going to have to extend Drew Holiday because they gave up everything to get him. And beyond that, no one's taking – no. Appreciate you, Nastiness. Take care, buddy.
That was awesome. I don't know why we're still doing this, but we're going to wrap it up soon.
Yeah, I need to take a shower. It's been 2 days since my hot water worked. So,
don't you have the ocean right nearby you?
Jason, there are alligators in that water. It's
in
not
the ocean?
Yeah, I don't know where you live, but where I live.
In the Gulf?
The Gulf, there's sharks. There are
You're not going in the water, huh?
Jaws is my favorite movie of all time, and I am terrified of the ocean because of it.
Isn't it the best movie of all time?
It's by far the best movie of all time. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal movie.
You can watch it over and over and over again.
And it never gets old.
It will never not be awesome. The scene at night showing off each other's scars were the greatest scenes of all time.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and I do, and you fair Spanish lady.
Quint is one of the best.
He died 3 years later. He died 3 years later after the movie was done. I
had no idea that was your favorite movie, but it's always been in my top 5, and I keep finding new movies to put in my top 5 as some of the other movies don't hold up as well over the years, and Jaws never falls out of the top 5. So never. I think I have to say it's number 1 because I could literally watch it again. I'm not going to watch it again tonight. I'm going to sleep, but I could literally watch it at any point. It's like Groundhog Day. That's another one, right?
Never seen it. I had this conversation with my aunt and uncle the other day. Now I have to watch Mystic River. I have to watch what?
No, you don't. It's miserable movie.
That's what they said too. They said it was horribly depressing.
Yeah, don't watch that.
Why not?
Watch Groundhog Day.
Give me one reason. Typically, the depressing movies are usually the best.
They can be. I agree with you, but I think that one is just miserable. Just miserable. Have you watched Enter the Dragon? Bruce Lee.
No.
You have to watch Groundhog Day and Enter the Dragon. Then you can get in your feelings on a rainy day and watch Mystic River.
I don't have feelings.
Rainy day when you get back up north.
Movies never make me emotional. I was watching Green Mile the other night with my mom and my aunt. My mom and my aunt were sobbing, and I'm sitting here. I'm like, why are you crying?
That's because you're on your phone on Twitter.
No, I wasn't. I watched the whole thing. No, I watched like the last 45 minutes. But it was still a really good movie, and I didn't cry at all. I don't cry during movies. I'm not a crier in general. But anyway, Green Mile was phenomenal. Mystic River comes next because of my experience. The depressing movies are typically the best. They also want me to watch the crime thrillers, L.A. Confidential.
It's fine.
You don't like crime thrillers?
I mean, I would watch the series before I would watch it like a movie. I think movies nowadays, TV is too good. Movies have a hard time because they're both too short and too long. I would watch all the True Detectives long before I would watch L.A. Confidential.
What did you think of Usual Suspects?
It was fine.
To this day,
no spoilers.
My brain is still destroyed by the ending.
Really? See, I think Seven is a much better movie from the same.
Seven was awesome. I saw that as a sophomore.
Reservoir Dogs, I think, is a better movie than Usual Suspects.
My mom and dad wouldn't let me watch it, and then one day I just stole the DVD and watched it when I was like 12, and I was like, "This is what you hid from me? Like this is nothing."
Usual Suspects.
No, Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, Reservoir Dogs. I mean, got a couple of scenes in it. True Romance. Have you seen True Romance?
No.
It's a fantastic movie.
I liked Fargo. I liked Fargo a lot.
Are you watching this series, Fargo?
No, I can never watch TV series and movies because it's like this was already done in 2 hours.
Got nothing to do with the movie.
Okay.
Each season of Fargo actually has very little to do with the other seasons of Fargo. It's yeah.
So I'll add Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
And what else to the list?
Enter the Dragon.
We'll see. I'm not a big like kung fu type guy.
It's a sports movie. It's a
I like-
sports. It's like a sports.
I still haven't seen Rocky. I've never seen Raging Bull. Any of those. I don't like.
You've never seen Rocky. That's funny.
I know. I've never seen any of them.
How you avoid it?
I've never seen any of them, and I don't intend to either. I don't like fighter movies. It just doesn't appeal to me.
The Fighter is a very good movie.
I saw The Fighter. I saw what's the one with like Channing Tatum and Steve Carell about DuPont?
I don't want to go there. I know people involved in that. True
Really?
story. Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. He went to Haverford in Villanova, where I attended.
Yeah, one of my best friends growing up was on that team, Foxcatcher, and was involved in that whole thing.
Wow, that's crazy. What other ones? And I guess like if you consider like the remakes with like Michael B. Jordan as part of the Rocky series.
Creed?
Yes, I have seen those.
I
have seen those, but I didn't enjoy them that much because I'm not a big fighter guy.
I'm not a big. When I was like 18 and Mike Tyson was a thing, like that was cool, or 13, I guess, when Mike Tyson wasn't really a thing. Like I loved boxing when I was like 13, but I don't love watching people punch each other in the face. But Enter the Dragon, you got to think of as it's like a mystery and a sports movie, and Bruce Lee doing things you just can't believe are real. So
Let me ask you this: what's the best Bond movie of all time?
I'm not a Bond guy.
That's it. You've lost all credibility as a movie guy. That's it. It's over. I'm sorry.
I mean, I would. You're going to ask my opinion. The best one, probably one of the first Daniel Craig, whichever the first one of his was. I would say.
So Casino Royale. When I was like,
Is that the first one?
yeah, I was like 11 or 12 at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't. I grew up in the earlier. What I forget the guy's name, but like
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, and like that's terrible.
Timothy, stop it. He was the best Bond by far. Timothy Dalton, another good one.
I used to play 007, the GoldenEye.
A great game. That was a phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd rather play that than watch.
Oh, stop it.
Watch it. I'd rather play Hitman.
These takes are horrible. These takes are horrible. All right, we got to end because you're losing it now with these takes, these James Bond takes. Ugh.
You got a lot of W's tonight. I took some L's.
This started as a Sixers podcast or a Sixers
Blue Coats podcast.
A Blue Coats show transitioned to a Sixers show, ended with a James Bond show. Oh man.
007, Isaiah Joe. That's a callback. Isaiah Joe 2 for 14. Divide 14 by 2. You get 7.
007.
You get 2 zeros in front of it. Now you got James Bond.
There we go.
All right. Don't splash. Watch that first step. It's a doozy.
What?
And we're out. Watch Groundhog Day. Austin, watch Groundhog Day. You will get that joke tomorrow, and you will think it's hilarious. All right, everyone, good night.